savannah every day. Suddenly, a mother lion came toward us. We could easily see her destination. It was the shade to hide from the scorching sunlight of the midday, which was hot as 35 degrees Celsius. Lions don't initiate attack on humans when they don't take harmful actions or stay still in the vehicle. We locked ourselves inside the vehicle.
우리가 쟤네를 지켜보는 게 아니고 쟤네가 우리를 구경하는 것 같아. 어디서 희한한 동물이 와가지고. 쟤네한테는 우리가 어떻게 보일까? 응?
Anything could happen any minute that we couldn't take our eyes off, even while eating.
This is just 9 o'clock. So already have breakfast.
Today is different day.
This is the lunch box.
For 14 hours inside the vehicle, we had to depend on this lunchbox. At 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, we had to eat little by little. Something happened to the lion family that we were tracing. The lion research team came up. There are about 2,000 lions in the Serengeti, and the Lion Research Institute tracks down these lions to study their ecology. When a lion needs their observation, they put a radio transmitter around its neck to trace after it. They gave us some information about this family. The lions we were tracing after were an old female lion called Namanga, her 2 daughters, and her grandchildren. They said Namanga is a very unique one among the lions in Serengeti.
It's a very unusual pride because Namanga was a solitary female who was a nomad, and she has managed to form her own pride, and as far as we know in the 50-year history of the project, that's the first time that's happened.
The Lion Research Institute in Serengeti was established in 1965.
So the others had distracted the zebra.
In the beginning, there was only one biologist from America in the institute, but now they are supported by the Lion Research Foundation of America and a film production company that uses the lion as their symbol.
A very prominent ridge on the top of the skull. Hyenas have the strongest jaws in the animal kingdom. can see the size difference between a hyena and a lion. It's huge. I want to show where the cards who we found with them.
The Lion Research Institute is currently tracking down 25 lion families by naming each lion 1 year after their birth and making individual records to main data concerning family relationship and biological changes.
And you see we collared her here on the 27th of May, and you can see since we collared we've had a pretty good idea of where she's been, because what we do is we record how fat or how thin the lions are. If they're very fat, they're 1. If they're very thin, we give them a 5.
Researchers go around the savannah every day to look for lions. When a lion with a radio transmitter comes into the radius of 3 to 5 kilometers, it will turn on the alarm. The lion's data are continuously renewed. Researchers learned how to identify one lion from the other through many years of experience.
Also ear notches and any spots within the eye. Sometimes we can use scars. We also record any missing teeth, which happens when the lions get older. This lioness is missing one of her teeth at the top. We've coloured it in black to demonstrate that it's disappeared. And here you can see we take photographs.
These detailed studies have become great help for lion protection. In 1994, over 1,000 lions died of an epidemic of dog disease, and the Lion Research Institute found out the cause and vaccinated the dogs around the area. We decided to ride the balloon to take a shot of the grand scenery of new herds. The filming in Serengeti was a struggle with the vehicle. The vehicle broke down once every 2 days after running on rough off-roads, and also fell into holes many times.
지금 일단 그럼 작업을 하고 있으니까요. 다치지 않았냐? 안 보이더라고. 하나도 안 보이더라고. 한 정도 있어. 뭐야.
We pushed it from behind with the other car, but it didn't move an inch. All staff had to struggle under the scorching sun for 3 hours. The vehicle barely escaped from the 1-metre wide hole. The schedule was so tight that we had to shoot news and lions at the same time with just 2 vehicles. We also had to spend much time pushing and pulling each other's broken car. Three trips, and the shooting that continued for 70 days for each trip. We didn't skip a day during the trip, excluding the World Cup game. The Korean team making a long drive, taking advantage of victory, was a refrigerant that we couldn't barter with anyone. One of the most difficult things to shoot was the hunting scene of carnivores. We found a cheetah with a bony stomach starving to death. It looked as if it was going to start hunting soon. With a running speed of 112 kilometers per hour, cheetahs are known as the king of speed, but this particular one failed to catch a prey at every attempt. In fact, the success rate of hunting for carnivores is only 30%. For that reason, it was tougher to take a shot of hunting scenes.
스타트.
찍었어. 가젤 사냥하는 거.
예.
We were excited for the time being until we heard some bad news.
의식은 없고? 의식은 없고? 어디가요? 언제부터 그랬어요?
We heard that Director Chair's mother fell into a critical condition.
폐렴이셨어.
아 원래 암이셨어요?
그래서 그래서 여기 맨날 자면서 불안불안한데 결국 너 왔네.
여기 가셔야 되겠네?
근데 가도 이틀인데.
이틀에 또 아직은 괜찮으시다고요. 오늘 아침에 비행기로 떠나는 게 낫잖아요. 오늘 알아서 나가서 비행기표 종류랑 다 해서 저녁 비행기로 떠야지 뭐. 그러면 내일 모레 오전에 떨어질 거예요.
His mother is in the terminal stage, and yet she still maintains her consciousness.
여기 아프리카야. 어째? 예? 괜찮아요, 그거. 아니라니까. 예, 곧 갈게요, 제가. 곧 갈게. 예. 알았어요. 예. 예.
The old mother wanted to see her son's face for the last time. He was able to get a plane ticket after asking around people. The commander of the documentary team, Director Che, the one who's leaving, and those who were left alike felt heavy on the heart.
사냥하는 걸 어떻게 지게 된단 말이야. 저거 아니더라도.
그러니까 일단은 사냥하는 건 이거 사냥하는 걸 찍어야지. 어머니 잘 모시고.
On August 28th, the third shooting began. The final shooting session for 60 days. The hard schedule will start again 5 o'clock tomorrow.
얼마 안 남았으면 찾자고.
As his mother passed the critical point, Director Che joined the team again. This time, the goal was to take a shot of the news crossing the Mara River, which is the final stage of their 4-month-long migration.
추위 신발 나와라.
여기 신발 주인하세요.
우리가 이쪽부터 이제 훑어서 오른쪽으로 갈 테니까 너희들은 저쪽 왼쪽으로 훑어가지고 저 반대편부터 훑어.
This year, the area was experiencing unusually cold weather that we had to suffer from cold in the early morning.
What degree? What degree? You expect maybe 5 or 6.
At the northern end of the Serengeti, the Mara River is located at the border of Tanzania and Kenya. Every year, over 1,500,000 gnus migrate to the north looking for fresh grass and cross this Mara River to reach the final destination. And a number of gnus lose their life in their trip. The scene of tens of thousands of gnus crossing the river at the same time is known as the most magnificent spectacle in the world that the animals can create. We needed to take that shot. A number of gnus had already arrived at the riverside. This time the problem was the tourists. Gnus didn't seem to move because of hundreds of safari vehicles that came to see this scene and reproduced the rush hour traffic near the river. We waited for a whole day, but the gnus didn't cross the river. They returned to the savannah. We decided to look for other places without tourists. After searching for a while, we found a good spot for shooting. 10,000s of gnus were ready to cross the river, and there were no tourists. The long waiting began.
그래, 가라, 얼른. 움직인다. 자, 빨리빨리 와라.
They seemed as if they were going to jump into the river, but they turned around. It has been 6 hours and everyone began to feel exhausted.
기다리면 되지 뭐.
Documentary production is a war against time. Learning to wait is a strength more powerful than anything else.
저것들이 좀 바로 안 넘어갈 것 같은데.
We waited for 5 days without knowing when. There were thousands of gnus flooded in around the riverside. They seemed that they were really going to cross the river today.
화장실 가고 싶어. 큰 거 작은 거. 뭐냐? 손을 먹는 거.
The gnus appeared as if they were going to cross the river right now. No one could leave the scene. Finally, the leader of the herd began to cross the river. As it sluiced water out of the paddy, many other gnus followed it into the water. Now there is nothing that can stop this grand parade. Gnus have crossed this river every year for the past 2,500,000 years. But then the camera director turned ghastly pale all of a sudden.
얼마나 멀었어? 미치겠어. 2시간 참았어 지금.
Now the News are throwing themselves into the water from 5 meters up the cliff. But a baby New lost its footing. Dust is the critical enemy for cameras. It can cause serious defects. Problems are everywhere. It's over 30 degrees Celsius during the day, deadly cold in the early morning. And there are flies.
아 뜨거. 아 미치겠다. 이거 뭐야? 이씨.
The flies in Serengeti won't cause sleeping sickness, but it stings like bees and the sting would swell large. Once stung by it, one would have a hard time getting to sleep. We selected this area to shoot leopards, but there are too many flies as the place had many trees.
야 여기저기 나가지 안 되겠다.
어? 나가자고?
아 여기저기 나가지. 이거 파리 때문에 일단 촬영이 안 된다. 이거.
그럼 어떡하냐고, 어떡해. 기다려봐야지, 어떡하냐.
어제 요 근처에서 또 왔다 갔다 했는데. 근데 어째 오늘은 하나도 안 보이네.
It was worth waiting. We were able to shoot a leopard that hunted an impala. What troubled us to the last moment was the lions hunting scene. We pursued lions every day, but we couldn't catch the hunting scene. Every day this one came to us for shade that our vehicle made, but now it seems to take over the vehicle. This is how the male lion manifests their territory. Actually, lions spend their day by relaxing or sleeping about 20 hours. They hunt about once a few days. It's tougher to catch them hunting as they usually hunt in the evening. After a boring wait, we finally found a lion just beginning to hunt. Its prey was the African red wild boar. It can run at 56 kilometers per hour, as fast as a lion. Gnus might appear to be slow, but they are not easy prey. It seemed to give up hunting, but it suddenly ran somewhere. Our gnu fell in the swamp. When we reached it, the hunting was already over. We failed to shoot the scene again. One of the attractions in Serengeti is the rhino. The rhino is at risk of extinction because there are only 2,500 of them in the entire world, as poaching for their horns is prevalent. There are only 14 rhinos in this area.
Near the lake.
Near the lake.
Again, female 40, Liana forest.
Okay.
An environmental organisation in Germany supports this Rhino Research Institute, and they observe and record the movement of the rhino.
kwamba maana gani tuzunguke ili kumcheki.
When the rhino is not seen or when they detect anything strange, agents will immediately go to check them. The Institute not only watches for poachers, but frequently checks on the health status of the rhino through their excretion. Serengeti's well-preserved natural environment is indebted to these sensitive carers. The rhino protection area is extremely prohibited to tourists. The lion research team and our team lost the lion family because they went into the rhino protection area.
새끼 보이니?
네, 나만과 생긴 게 거의 사이즈는 비슷하다고 얘기하네.
Again, we began to search for Namanga's lion family with the lion research team. We found Namanga's family after 3 months. Out of 8 lion cubs, this one named Angelo survived. We felt sorry for him as it also seemed ill. We couldn't catch the hunting scene until we reached near the end of our schedule. Everyone felt anxious about it. But finally, we were able to catch the lion's hunting scene, known as the finest scene of the nature documentary in Serengeti. It was just 3 days before the last day. For many years, the lion was the symbol of strength and beauty, and a very attractive subject of research for many scientists. There was much unknown about the ecology of the lion. That must be the reason we felt we missed something at the end of the filming. On the final day of the 200 days of documentary filming, the sunset of the savannah was unusually beautiful.